We're reading The Affinity Theory by Eddie D. Williams. It's on your screen. We have met all of the main characters, including the two protagonists, Malcolm, aka KC, and Simone, aka Starburst. We are just about ending chapter 5, where Starburst gets her first sort of field action. And what I'm confused about is how did they not know that her suit wasn't fully integrated when, thanks, honey, when there's all these folks looking at them all the time. Like nobody's said anything. And then after it was just too late because they started fighting. And then even then I was just like, really, Malcolm, could you not have said like be careful? Like I feel like there could have been a moment, but perhaps not. Things were moving so quickly. So that's where we are now. I'm gonna start the sprint because I really want to get through a big chunk of this. It's a darn near 500-page book, so I would like to get through at least a good third of it tonight, another third tomorrow, and then we'll finish out the rest during the week. So let's hop to it. First sprint begins. Lost in Literary Bliss, thank you for joining on Instagram. Make sure you also make sure you take a chance and watch on Twitch as well. We are almost at affiliate. We have one more metric to reach the threshold, and that's average viewers at one time. We are almost there. I feel it happening within the next week or so. I know it is, especially probably after Tuesday night show. So share the channel, follow if you can. And another reason, a good reason is to follow, is that you'll be entered into any of those bookish giveaways. And while you're here, take a look at other book Twitch streamers in the writing and reading category. All right, sprint is starting. We've been doing this all day. If you have a book, grab it. If you're working on a project, let's start there. We do 15-minute sprints with a break, about 3-minute break in between to give some feedback. Eddie D. Williams is in the chat. The author is in the chat room. And again, if you want to interact with the author, then you must head on over to Twitch. So let's get started. Gotta have good ergonomics. Y'all, I'm nearly 40 years old, and last year I've been dealing with this issue. What's highly suspected. It's one of those kind of illnesses. If nothing else is, then this is what it is. And that's brachial plexus neuritis. It's inflammation of the nerves all through your neck and back and chest. And after years of working on the computer and being an editor, reading books, head down, it's starting to take its toll. So, but I do great arm yoga, a little bit of medication, stretching daily, making sure I take my breaks. The Apple Watch helps with that a lot, like especially during the day when I get focused in work or I'm in the middle of a project. Stephanie, stand up. Do your stretches. What? At first, I was like annoyed that Starburst, that Simone's name was Starburst, and I was like, oh, it's so frou frou in my mind, right? And I'm thinking like, oh gosh, of course. But then like, no, it kind of does fit her personality. She seems to be happy go lucky. You know, Eddie D uses words like bashful and things when describing her interactions. She's really energetic. She's very hyped and excited to be there. So I guess it does fit her personality. But her powers are so like out of this world. Yeah, see that I thought that's what he was doing, moving energy. It's new and he's doing it now. Oh, wonder what it would like to be make him yield to me. All right, Simone, but that's the thing though. She's aggressive when it comes to Malcolm. She was like, no, they keep telling him like he's all these shields and stuff. He's like, no, I can break them. Now, wonder what it'd be like to make him yield to me. Okay, acting all bashful out there in the open, but not in her mind, honey. These thoughts. These thoughts. Michelle Gagliano, thanks for joining on TikTok. You working on anything special this weekend? Let us know in the chat. And make sure, again, friendly reminder to give us a watch on Twitch. That way you can interact with the chat. We have Eddie D. Williams in the chat room today. Let him know your thoughts on the Affinity Theory if you read it. If not, go ahead on and head over to theaffinitysaga.com. That's theaffinitysaga.com to learn more about the book, Eddie, and where you can pick it up yourself. So everyone who's just tuning in, such as XO Katie Lynn on TikTok and others, I'm in the middle of a reading sprint, and I'll be re-engaged again in about 7.5 minutes. Thanks, Eddie. Eddie put it in the chat, theaffinitysaga.com. Oh, touchdown, touchdown. You hear him? Raph said in the chat, Eddie needs the Steelers. Eddie needs to write a superhero for the Steelers to save them from this ass whooping that the Ravens are laying down. Touchdown, what's the score now, babe? 28-7. Don't cry, Matt. 28-7. Go in the mall. King Henry. Derrick Henry's the MVP of tonight. Val Velocity. Thank you for watching on Tic Tac Boo. Tic Tac. TikTok. That's what it's about to be in a few weeks if they keep this court stuff up. TikTok. Make sure you are watching and viewing on Twitch. We're almost at affiliate, trying to get those TikTok. I know, trying to get those concurrent viewers up. So if you're watching, enjoying what you see today, you just met me in the middle of a reading sprint. I'll be done in about 3.5 minutes, and then I'll be re-engaged. That means again, everything in the room was white. Ah, that's why everything is white. Yes. Yeah, they've been out. I don't know why. Like, what's going on with Lex? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Lexi Mama. You better bring it back. You don't want none of this? Oh no, he looked like he said, "Let me hurry up." No, he was on the couch with me. But I know. As soon as he coming up there, he like. But he making sure if you sitting up here that you don't get his spot. Look at him looking at you like, come on, don't do that. That's his spot. Actually, it's my spot. It's my reading nook.
Because I sent the chair garbage, and I told you, no, it's a good chair,
and I used it.
My chair.
It's not your chair. You can hardly fit in it. All right, I'm gonna keep this one going because I just got back into the story. Y'all catch me back in 15 minutes. I'm gonna read a little bit more and then we'll talk more about it. See, it's just even in this one sentence, Simone's like the dynamic dichotomy in her personality. Simone shook off her kid at Jubilee feelings and continued her pursuit of locking horns in a one-on-one skirmish with Malcolm. The girl stay ready to fight. And she wants to impress him too, so there's a little bit of that. That's what she said. The first thing she said, "Ooh, I want to fight him."
Your brother's son.
Let me see. Find another. Babe, babe. Oh, they got a touchdown. Yeah. Everybody got quiet. Looks like the Steelers scored something. Ravens still winning though. Oops. All right, so this is a really cool part if you're nerdy and, and numbers oriented. Simone is going in to meet the analysis. The analysis. Again, you can find out why I'm saying it that way if you read the book. And Simone's, and to go into how the numbers are sort of rating scales and aggregated and how the power level rises, skills levels, and that kind of thing. And infinity is measured along a spectrum from dark to light. So it's really cool. Like you can imagine if they had trading cards for these characters, the different skill levels, or if it was in a game and the different skills and aspects of them are rated on various scales. Yes, a video game. What was your inspiration? Is there a particular one or just general, Eddie, for around their skill scales and things? Uh oh, they hit the punter. I read a little bit about the atrium where the training rooms are. The training room was an atrium 100 yards in every direction. The walls, ceiling, and floor of the training room were all cobalt gray, with light strips running vertically spread 10 feet apart. The strips mimicked the stripes on their arms and provided illumination for the entire room. The walls were also cloaked so as not to get destroyed by anyone's powers. Malcolm had several random shards, chunks, and shapes of metal around him. He can shift objects, manipulate objects. He picked up a metal pipe with his hand and he hovered his right hand over the pipe, causing it to bend into a curve. He continued to hover stroke his hand across the pipe until it sharpened, transforming into an oversized sickle. He then swung the sickle around a few times, held it parallel to the floor close to his face, and used his right hand and powers to straighten and stretch the sword to a needle point. He then took the sword in his right hand, thrust the sword forward twice, then swiftly swung his wrist to perform a parry. Simone gazed delightfully. Her mind vacillated between his techniques, his skills, and his physique. It's so effortless how he switches from one combat technique to another without hesitating. He's an absolute beast. His eyes absorbed every inch of his toned body, admiring the way his chiseled chest popped out of his shirt, the subtle ways his muscles flexed when he bent his arms, when he extended the weapons he crafted. She kept shifting herself in her seat while her mind and body began playing a game of tug of war as to which would be stimulated more. A gnawing passion built up in the pit of her stomach and began to consume her heart. Every time Malcolm sliced the air, her nostrils flared. She examined him and paid close attention to how he breathed, the subtle ticks in his facial expressions, the sweat dripping from his forehead. Watching him was like listening to a symphony, watching a dance, and Simone was tranced. Okay, a game called Dynasty Warriors, everyone. Karina Lar, thanks for joining on TikTok. Eddie D writes, it's in the chat room on Twitch while we read and discuss his book, The Affinity Theory. I was asking him about how he came up with the scales for the skill system, the skill scales. And I said, oh, this seems, first I was like, oh, it's like a trading card. And I was like, actually, it reminds me of when skills are rated in a video game. And he says, yes, it's inspired by a video game called Dynasty Warriors. Played the game a billion times. It's a hack and slash game. You should play it sometime on Twitch if you can. And if anybody knows of the game, Dynasty Warriors, let us know what you think about it. I've never played it. I'm gonna ask the fellow when he comes back up. He's the gamer. Him and the teenager are the gamers in the family. I just do casual gaming and mobile games. I'm a Candy Crush beast. I'm on like almost on level 7,000. There is one game. I do like decision-based games and puzzle games of that sort. Of course, word games. But anyway, one more minute. Let me focus, and then we'll talk a little bit. Mm-hmm. So together, see what's going on here. The energies are sort of synergy going on right now between Simone and Malcolm. So I play a game at a time. I am in a game called Watcher of Realms. The rating scales read much like your book too. Watcher of Realms. Wait, Google it real quick. Watcher of Realms while we're in the middle of a sprint break. So let's see. So this is a game that has some inspiration for some of the elements in the book we're reading, Watcher of Realms, next gen fantasy RPG. I don't want to download it. I just want to read about it. 3D dark fantasy. Here we go. Let's look at it. Hold on. Let me pause this real quick.
Hold on, before you pay for yet another app to manage your team.
Shush. Pam, you don't ad. YouTube. We'll wait for the ad to go away. So, Watcher of Realms, one of the inspirations behind some of the mechanisms, right on time, in the Affinity Theory. You're playing it right now. Oh, the fellas in the chat too, back in PlayStation days. All right, he's exclusively Xbox now. All right, so I just started another reading sprint. We'll be back engaged in about 14 minutes. And this is the last pomo before we take a longer break. Y'all can't hear him, but he just made that character's sound, whatever Lubu does. And she's like this petite little thing, Jubilee. And then she has moments like this. She decided, Simone, she decided to take a chance and go into the training room and turn her budding fantasy into reality, to release the tension longing to erupt and explode out of her by sinking her claws into him in a brawl. Arr. Lulu. Finally found out what KC was, what it stood for. So we know that all of the powered folks, the elite, particularly have code names once they are fully suited and booted. And Malcolm Bennett's code name is KC. Just found out what it was for. I'm not telling y'all. Y'all have to read the book to find out. My nails. Nail. Simone stood in the training room, the pressurized energy still raging inside her with nowhere for it to go. Her mind fluctuated between her frustration with Malcolm's flippant response toward her, her desire to take him down in battle, and her growing crush on him. She couldn't take the fire flowing in her veins. What the Freemus is wrong with me? What's got me acting like this? This doesn't make sense. I've got to let this out. I hope the room can handle this. She concentrated more than she ever had before. She levitated, her eyes glowed, and an aura surrounded her. Simone raised her hands in the air and a fireball grew above them. It enlarged quickly to about 30 feet in diameter. Her hair shimmered yellow as the star raged. Lightning struck from the star as Simone began to scream. Her focus shifted, her energy and her eyes glowed from yellow to white. Her hair changed from yellow to white, and the star above her changed from yellow to white. She unleashed the star above her head to the ceiling 100 yards above, and it exploded into billions of glittering sparks as she fell to her knees and palms on the ground. Her locks dangled from her head and instantly changed back to jet black, her eyes back to brown, and she breathed rapidly and heavily. She turned and lay flat on the ground as she recovered from the blast, her frustration resolved to focus. As she rubbed her stomach and her neck, Simone reasoned to herself, "You're going to fight me, Malcolm Bennett." Chapter 7. Flashes of the battle from the day before dominated Simone's dreams, a soothing fantasy to her soul. What is wrong with her? Oh, okay. Now I see why where it's going. The dream.
Oh, you was fighting that good. No, you was fighting for that first. That's why. They had you. You broke me done. Oh, no. Why? Oh,
Look at her waking up, putting on her clothes and everything. Today is going to be a great day. Whereas Malcolm is waking up for a nightmare and again has to turn to his grounding techniques to focus and begin his day. Goodness. Power to make up nearly 70% of the population, and yet they can't hold office. Oh, that's a lot, actually. I wasn't expecting that many people to be powered, but like I said, it's levels to it as well. Currently on break from writing. Hi, JK Lambo. How are you? Thanks for joining the chat today. Right, today's going to be a great day. She is a mess. I mean, no, she's good. Girl, calm down. um, so, JK, what I'm doing right now is reading. Hush, thing, hush, 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 hush. Shush. I am reading The Affinity Theory by Eddie D. Williams. Eddie D is in the chat. You just tagged him. And he just noted he's taking a break from writing. This is book one of the Affinity Saga. You can find out more at theaffinitysaga.com. And so I just started reading this earlier. We've been doing 15-minute reading sprints. I've had a few breaks in between today. And so far, so good. I'm enjoying it. Despite it being a long, epic, adventurous tale, this is a superhero thriller romance. It's moving fairly quickly. So I'm hoping to get through a good third of it tonight, a third of it tomorrow, and then finish the rest during the week. Every weekend I engage in a readathon. I try to go live as much as possible when I'm reading to engage with you all. The last couple of weekends we have been interacting with authors live. It's been really, really fun. I hope to do this much more often. Lions Pride Studios was in the chat room last weekend while we were reading Lawless Hours. There we go. And let's see, did I do that right? And then we'll be reading an arc by Cypher Robinson, another book Twitch streamer. So make sure you guys follow Eddie Writes. He's really active on TikTok and elsewhere. He has his own podcast. He's a great, entertaining character of himself. We're at a point now in the story where we've met all the main characters. We're getting to know the two protagonists a little bit better. It is a woman, a powered person, Starburst, aka Simone Watson, as well as Casey, aka Malcolm Bennett. We are just a little bit starting to understand just on the tippy scale of how their energy, their two powers have a synergy together, as well as the sparks that are brewing between them. So it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. What are you working on? Outline for bakery rivals to lovers work in progress. Oh, that sounds like a cozy story. Project Sugar and Spice. Oh, look at that. If there are any romance readers out there, you guys go check out J.K. Lambo. Well, that sounds like a cozy romance read. Or is it going to be like hot and spicy, spicy? Like, is it Project Sugar and Spice, Spice, Spice? Like, burn the tongue spice? I'm not a big fan of like the smutty stuff as much. So far, the level of romance that we've gotten into, but we're just at the beginning of this relationship, I can deal with. I did read a dark paranormal romance earlier in the season of Books and Bounty last fall. I have to admit, I couldn't put it down. It was like, because I have to admit that I was a bit uncomfortable with the aspects of this was a shapeshifter, dark paranormal romance, werewolf kind of scenario. So there was fated mates and kept mates, and the idea of whether or not women had the self agency in this situation was very questionable. So, um, but bakery rivals to lovers sounds nice and cozy. J. King Lambeau, tell us a little bit more if you can. All right, we're going to start the next sprint. I said trying to churn through some pages tonight. We'll start another set of 45 minutes. Let me, at this point, go get, where's my water? And Kodak is in his chair. Y'all heard him upset, fussing at Raph because Raph has sat down up here with me for a little while. And that's my co-host Kodak. He's a good, chunky, juicy boy. Good 80 pounds. Or more. I can't lift him up. He's such a good boy. He is anywhere between 4 and 6 years old. We adopted Kodak from the Maryland SPCA about 2 years ago. Lexi, my old senior lady, I've had her since she was 6 weeks old. Oh, what happened? What's going on? 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 So yeah, I had Lexi since she was 6 weeks old. She'll be 11 this year. This is Lexi when she was a puppy. Isn't she the cutest? It's the first day I got her and brought her home.
Where is it? Go.
Almost.
Guess who about to get put out their seat? But mine every second saying boy.
Sit right there.
Guess who?
Sit right there. Don't put him out.
Animal.
Anytime I say anything like that, you're like, what are you talking about? He's part of the family.
Come on, Kodak, move.
Don't talk about him like that.
Kodak, move.
No, he don't have to move. Why he gotta move if he don't want to move? Look at this, y'all. Don't make a move. Look at him. Everybody's saying don't make a move. Stay, Kodak. No, resist. Resist. I can't do that. Say hi, everybody. You on live, babe. Look. Go Ravens. Look at him trying to fit in that seat. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to?
Some of the McConkley. I told Adele the only receiver I would mess with from the Chargers is him. He won't bet on other.
Kodak, I'm so sorry. Daddy is not being nice. Him a big boy. Elizabeth Movie 63. Thanks for joining on TikTok. What are you working on, girl? You got movies in your name? Lamar hurt. What are you talking about?
Because the Steelers won't be hitting them late.
It's football. What do you mean hitting them late? Kodak's right back in the seat. He had the nerve to let out a grunt. Well, JK, if you want to participate in the reading sprints, I'm going to do a set of 15-minute sprints, three of them with a few minutes break in between, just to give some feedback. So if you want to join while you're working on your outline, starting the sprint now. I have to stop for a minute actually. Let me pause because I'm going to read this to you and I'm going to tell you why I'm thinking about current events. So the screen cut to Chancellor Croft, the leader of Uri City, standing behind a podium in front of a blue sheet with the city seal, a circle with the letter C nestled inside the curve of the letter U embroidered on it. Croft was an older, tall, dark-skinned man with a silver afro a few inches above his scalp. Wearing a purple and red striped robe and gold-rimmed glasses, he declared, "It has long been unfair for the unpowered to be the only ones eligible to hold office, when the powered make up nearly 70% of our population. To ensure fair representation in government, we must allow the power to be eligible for offices and let their voices not just be heard, but also felt within every fabric of your city." Listen to this. "It's not fair that we ask the power to entertain us, to fight wars for us, to work and pay fares and taxes, but then exclude them from making decisions that impact the world we share." And this made me think, of course, there are a lot of more nuances to this and situations, and, you know, let's take out the idea folks deserve to be punished. They are serving their sentence in the ways that the government has instructed that sentence to be. And I'm talking about those imprisoned population that fights the fires in California. Um, I know that I think Governor Newsom, a couple years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, changed some regulations and rules where there was more guarantees that those who worked as firemen while they were imprisoned have a pathway to um, an actual career with the fire departments once they uh, get out of prison. But it really just made me think of that situation because it's and prayers out to everyone suffering right now on the West Coast. We probably all have some friends or people that we know of people out there. Luckily, all of my loved ones um, out there are okay, but they know of people who have lost something. So prayers to them. And shout out to folks like Octavia's Bookshelf and others in the other bookish community coming together, supporting one another despite their own losses. So it made me think of situations like that, not just letting people be heard, let the voices be felt. It made me think of all kinds of things, everything but the burden, all that jazz. So let's get into it, Chancellor. Like as Eddie says, talk your talk. Oh God, here's his opponent. Lord, what's he gonna say? Listen to how he's described. This is the opponent of the Chancellor who just said a word. A much older, bald, prune-skinned man wearing a trench coat was displayed on the screen. Whereas Chancellor Croft is an older, tall, dark-skinned man with a silvered afro, a purple and red striped robe, and gold-rimmed glasses. And he says, "The last thing we need is for the power to re-enter our government system. It's always a fight for power. How can we trust the power to not use their powers to impose their will on the weak? We were barely successful in expelling the last power chancellor over 150 years ago when he and his minions tried to enslave your city. Why will you put our beloved city in jeopardy like that again? It is a slippery slope that we cannot afford to slide down. As long as I'm in the Senate, dear Darius. Darius pointed at himself. Croft will never see legislation passed that will give the power that right. And then it turns to the weather forecast. That's also a theme that runs through Tomi Adeyeme's Legacy of Orisha theory, a Legacy of Orisha series. It is the folks who possess magic in that kingdom have been through trials and tribulations with royalty back and forth, and they are now on the short end of the stick based on things their ancestors did who had power in the past. So something that similar between those two stories. Oh, press play. Addie, yep. Books are my jam. Thanks for joining on Instagram. Glad to have you. I'm reading Affinity Theory by Eddie D. Williams, who goes by Eddie D. Writes on social media. He is in the chat engaging with us on Twitch as I read, having an awesome little feedback loop. This has been a fun time. I started this on a whim with another book Twitch writing and reading streamer, Matt Lions Pride Studio, and it has continued. So I hope to do this more often. Glad to have you. And while you're here, make sure you are watching on Twitch so we can keep those concurrent viewers numbers up. And I am at the beginning of a 15-minute sprint. Heaven Reigns, thanks for joining on TikTok. How you doing? So I will be re-engaging again in about 13 minutes.
Take off. Boy, that's oh shit. That's all.
There's more than one sun in this world. Also, a few other mechanisms of the world building here in Euretha. We are in the city state of Uri, and time is different. It's equivalent, I think, of 27 hours, more than 7 days in a week. Just found out there are multiple suns. So there's that. So far, much of the physics of our two worlds, Earth and this one, are the same. Besides, like, the superpowers and what they can do to manipulate stuff and everything, of course. And that's actually, it's a good chapter 7. It's a few instances where some of those mechanisms are mentioned. They even call them different things, like not hours, cycles, all kinds of stuff. Heaven Reigns, thank you for joining on TikTok. Glad to have you. And if you're lurking on the channel, that means if you're just here to make sure the viewers stay up or to tune in every now and then. Mute your browser or your device. Do not mute the channel itself.
Rainbow Fantasy Reads just followed.
Oh, thank you for the follow, Rainbow. Rainbow Fantasy Reads. Glad you're here. As you can see, I'm reading The Affinity Theory. This is a superhero thriller romance. Eddie D. Williams, known as Eddie D. Writes, is in the building. We have about 2.5 minutes in my reading sprint, and then I will be back re-engaged with all of you. Give Eddie a shout out. Take a look at him, his work at theaffinitysaga.com. I'll put it in the chat now. This has been a really fun day, reading along and sharing my thoughts with Eddie and with all of you. So glad to have you here. Let us know what you're reading or writing right now, Rainbow. And again, glad to have you. Do you stream as well? Let us know in the chat. Thanks for the follow. So here we get a little bit more details about how, since this sprint is ending, I'll read this part out loud. A little bit more about how one of the defenders, the part of the elite unit, their powers work. And this is Malaysia. She can see through things in all different ways. So here we go. Malaysia responded, well, the simplest way to explain it is like wearing a pair of glasses with interchangeable lenses that I use to manipulate the way I see things. I can command my eyes to switch frequencies so that I can see different things in different ways. I can see in the dark. I can see through walls. I can see in between things like the bra you're wearing behind your shirt. I can change between X-ray and infrared, zoom in and out, all with the flip of a command in my head. And just as I thought, Simone exclaims, that's really impressive. So here, this last chapter, as I noted, we have 2 flags in the chapter. This is really a lot of world building. Excuse me. There are really a lot of world building in this chapter. You get to see a little bit of how folks get around, the different hovercrafts, the different levitators. You get a little bit more of how the powers work between Simone and Malcolm. We get a little bit about some of the sort of the environment that we're in right now in New York City. There's a tension, as you can see, between the have and have-nots. And the have and have-nots is defined very differently. For example, the majority population are powered people, 70% of the population to be exact, but they do not have any power or say so in the legislature, in the government. And then so they don't have the power to legislate. They don't have any representation in the government. Their voices can be heard but not felt, as the chancellor notes. And then but then those who are not powered actually are the ruling class. And so we meet, those are represented by the 2 characters, the chancellor, who is on the side of representation for the powered people, and then some prune-skinned man. That's how he's described. That is Eddie's description, not mine. What's his name? Senator Darius. As opposed to not letting any of that power slip away. Again, as even he describes it. So I am just starting chapter 7. I found a typo. I don't know if they still do this, but in a lot of scholarly publishing, especially academic textbooks, if you find a typo and you tell the publisher, they might like send you credits or something, or like free things. Some publishers used to do that. I don't know if they do that anymore. A little bit more about the book. This is actually a self-published book. I had a conversation with Eddie about this book before I received it, and let him know that I would read it and give it a review. And you could tell how much this story had been bubbling in him. He is proud of this work. He had to get it out. It was a burning fire in him. And and it shows the care he's put into this story. And this is a self-published work. So I highly recommend that you click on the link, theaffinitysaga.com, and get your copies today. Eddie, let us know in the chat what's going on with some of the special editions versus paperback copies, which are now available. I have my very own special edition signed copy by Eddie that comes with a handy dandy bookmark. But I cannot, I put the bookmark up. I didn't want to damage it. I want to keep that. I don't want to actually use it. So I'm not using the bookmark for the book. But let us know a little bit in the chat about the differences between the editions and where we can get them. All right, and we're about to start the next reading sprint. What's going on here? Right. That's what the director said. I knew it had been something in there that says, tell the weapon folk to check the alert system on Simone, aka Starbush's uniform, because it should have warned her that she was not fully cloaked. All this listen, this be something to let you know I ain't safe. Some fishy business going on here. Yes, girl, he just stood up for you. They said he's a good leader. Now, don't calm down. See, yeah, Simone, I caught that too. Talking about they said I'm elite. Hold on, I'm elite anyway. Thank you very much. I'm elite all the time, sun up to sundown, with or without this crew. You better tell. You better. And she didn't say it, but I feel you, Simone. All right. So I just have to say. Malcolm plus Simone. Here's a little glimpse into Simone's power. She's in the training room. The targets flew upward away from Simone, and though they surprised her, she was unfazed and hunted the targets down as she began to mouth the words to give me more. She's listening to a song as she trains. She built small balls of light and heat in her palms and threw them one by one repeatedly at several of the targets, destroying each of them. The remaining targets reached the ceiling nearly 100 yards in the air, then split into two groups as they descended to the ground. Simone took her hands and stretched them to her maximum wingspan, then created two stars the diameter of her body. The targets couldn't compensate for the size of her stars and crashed into them. Small explosions floated off her stars. She continued to sing the words to Madame Rayla's song as Malcolm deployed another set of targets from bays in the ceiling. This time the target circled around Simone about 20 feet away. Simone descended toward the ground, and the targets descended with her. Okay, straight shots. I'll have to use a Gatling approach, she reasoned. She held her right hand forward and shot multiple stars the size of golf balls from her hands, destroying each target without missing a single shot. Simone began flipping herself mid-air as she continued to descend to the ground. Malcolm was awestruck and quickly fought off the daze and sent more targets in. Saucers entered and exited the walls in a single file line. Without skipping a lyric, Simone rotated her body horizontally and continued spinning her body like a propeller while shooting stars from her hands, destroying target after target without flinching. The burst scattered across the room, destroying every target in the room while creating a light show that stopped Malcolm in his mental tracks. He slowly stood from his chair and looked in the room, staring in awe of what Simone just accomplished. His eyes peered beyond the sparks arrayed across this training room and absorbed every detail of Simone, each strand of her hair hovering around and shining from her head, her silhouette glowing from the aura around her, her eyes shimmering like fire bellowing from within. Simone's light show left him confounded. Let's see. Okay, so Eddie D let us know in the chat a little bit about how the different editions and where you can find them. He says hardbacks are available wherever you get your books online, i.e., Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Books a Million, via Ingram Spark distribution, and so on. You can also get it on the site, theaffinitysaga.com, and secure a person. And this is what I always encourage. So I always tell you, do your due diligence. See where your author wants to buy the book. See where you can get, where your dollar will give them the most support. So right now at the Affinity, www.theaffinitysaga.com, you can secure a personalized autographed copy of the paperback edition or purchase an ebook at a discount rate. Currently working on two special editions. Updates to the formatting that will be used moving forward in the saga, starting with book 2, and then a young adult edition that tones down the vulgarity and removes the spicy scene. Oh, that's not a bad idea, because like That's what I was talking about earlier, Eddie. I feel like it's teetering on young adult. Like there's not much you have to change about the story to push it into that young adult crowd. Um, and we need more black superhero books. So I think that was a good idea. How did that, is that something you came up with, or did you talk to someone, an editor or anyone? How did you come up with that decision to make a YA choice, a YA edition of the book?
Well, well, Sam,
Mm-hmm. Winky winky.
Pro? Is it 5995?
What you mean? What are we talking about there, Eddie?
It's multiple geography, man.
But yeah, I think so many people want to the books for their kids because they see the representation. That's exactly what I was thinking. So I think that's a good choice. Why not? Now we talk about all the time here at Books and Bounty. It is the business of writing. That's actually the theme for the second book fair later on this year. What's going to be going on? We're going to have a book fair, then I think two spoken words, and then another book fair. This first spoken book fair for Ink and Inspiration is February 8th. Make sure you get your vendor applications in. Eddie, I hope you put one in as well, because we would love to see the Affinity Theory, especially the YA edition as well, in the Traveling Book Nook. But again, as I've been saying, Ink and Inspiration is a curated literary series from Books and Bounty and Friends that we're starting here in 2025. The first date is February 8th. It will be a book fair held at the offices of Elevation Global Media Group here in Nottingham, Maryland. There are two options to vend. You can vend in person as a booth. We can supply and table and chairs upon request. Or if you can't make it to the DMV, because we would love to have y'all here in person, you can also register as a vendor to display your books products for preview in the Traveling Book Nook. There will be a QR code directly to where you want folks to go buy the book itself. And we even, if you can't make it, we will be on a case by case basis as we get the applications in. There could be some room and options to actually sell there as well. Yeah, PG-13. I agree. I don't think it'll make it much. It'll take much to make it suitable for a YA audience. All right, so we are in our final sprint. I think this will be the final sprint of the night. I'm going to continue reading, but I'm going to go off live for a bit. So, final sprint. Let's make it count.
Hit home up in that grass. It's probably wrong.
it's me, Katie just followed.
Hi, it's me, Katie. Thank you for the follow. Glad to see you're enjoying what's happening here at Books and Bounty. Quick pause to let folks know if you are now listening in on Instagram or TikTok, make sure that you head on over to Twitch and follow and view there. It's where we are trying to diligently get to affiliate status. We are almost there. We have one more metric to fulfill, and that is the amount of viewers watching at one time. So I appreciate the viewers and followers on Twitch. Also, if you follow on Twitch, you are automatically entered to win any of the bookish giveaways here at Books and Bounty. So make sure you give a follow. And also, it is the only place you can interact live with some of the authors that we have on the show, such as Eddie D. Wrights is in the chat room now. We've been reading the Affinity Theory all day. We'll continue that some tomorrow as well. Also get a little bit of desk time in with you guys. I have some video work to work on and some pre-content development for Tuesday. Happy New Year, Katie! And I'm just in the middle of a reading sprint, so I'll be back re-engaged in just a moment. What's going on here? Hold. Slow down. That was nice. First, I thought Malaysia was gonna be on some slick shit about Simone, but she wasn't. I guess a girl could dream when she's talking about dreaming about throwing blows with Malcolm. Everybody, and with that, I think we are approaching midnight tonight. I'm going to continue reading on my own here at Books and Bounty. Actually, we have been live most of the day today. Eddie D, thank you. Eddie D writes, better known as Eddie D. Williams, author of the Affinity Theory. Y'all see it here on your screen. Follow him on TikTok, Twitch, and other platforms. He has been wonderful and engaging in the chat room with me and others as we read the Affinity Theory. I was giving my feedback, basically a live review session of my initial reactions. We're at a point where we are well attuned to the 7 members of the elite unit Defender Squad, located in the Uri City division of the company, which contracts powered folk out to help defend the city. So again, Eddie, thank you so much. Oh, it's me, Katie. Yes, you got to read with me a little bit. I will be back live tomorrow. The first part of the day, I'm going to do a little bit behind the scenes. I have to repost some videos from New Year's Eve, as well as do a little bit of promo for Tuesday night's show. Reminder to everyone out there, I stream regularly every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. We're going to curate special guests are here. We give live book reviews, recommendations. Towards the second half of the show,